Hey, my name's Nick. I am a co-founder at Dialed Technologies, and today we're going to show you how to integrate Attio with BigQuery as a data warehouse using Polytomic. I'm going to click in here to Polytomic first, and we'll walk through setting up all of our connections. So right now we've got Attio and BigQuery connections in here. All you're going to do is come into connections, click Add Connection. Here you'll search for Attio. You'll choose if this is going to be the source or destination. So in our case, it's going to be the source. Click source, connect to Attio. This is going to open up a window for you to go in and authenticate Attio. And then for BigQuery, you're going to do the same process. So you'll come in here to BigQuery. This will be the destination. And then what you're going to have to create is a service account key. And so if you go into your Google Cloud provider, I've created a BigQuery Polytomic Sync project, and you'll click in here to service accounts, which is in IAM, and you'll click create new key. You want a JSON key, click create. If you have access to do this, it should automatically download it. If you don't have access, it might give you an error saying that you need to contact your administrator, and there might be organization policies that need to get set up, which we actually had to do. So we've already done that before this video. So now that I have that downloaded, I can go back to Polytomic, click on browse, and then I can actually add this JSON file in here. Test connection, this should essentially work. And then in this case, I'm actually going to save this because the other key was removed. All right, we have our connection set up. So now I'm going to go into bulk syncs, click on create bulk sync. I will select Attio as our source and BigQuery as our destination. We can select all of the objects here, but in this case, I'm just going to select people. You can also click on this drop down here and select multiple attributes, but in this case, I'm just going to do all of them. And I'm going to select continue here. Frequency, I will do manual, continue. We have some abilities here to rename some of the tables and the names of the syncs. But I'm not going to change any of those. I'm going to go ahead and click save. This will create the sync, and I'm going to just enable the sync here, and then I'm going to click start. And then after some time, this will show the total number of records, and then we can go into BigQuery and show you what that looks like. All right, we can see that this has started running and it has started. So once this is complete, it will show the total number of records and that it's completed. And then I will jump over into BigQuery. All right, this has completed. And so I'm going to jump over here into BigQuery. And I'm going to just go ahead here and refresh. And in BigQuery, we will see that there is a new table here called Attio Dialed Demo. We can click on people and then click into preview. We'll see that there are 1,258 records. All of the attributes are synced here. And that is how you would set up the bulk sync. And just going back to Polytomic, we can also create a model, and we can create model syncs. So bulk syncs is the recommended approach for pushing bulk data into a data warehouse like BigQuery. But we can also go through setting up a model and setting up a model sync if you want to just push information from one platform to another. And so the model is going to be for Attio. So we'll select Attio here, and we are going to be syncing people. So we're going to create a Attio people model, and then we're going to select people in terms of build the model using, and then Polytomic's going to go and fetch all of the attributes for the given object. And now that it's fetched all of these, in this case, we're going to just select all, but if there was only specific attributes you wanted, you could just select those. We'll click save here on this model. And then once this model is saved, we will go to the model syncs, and here we'll create a sync. We will select BigQuery 1 as the destination. We will create a new data set, and we will create a new table. If you have an existing data set or existing table, then they should show up here. If you don't worry, because you can just create these on the fly here. We'll do update and create, so that way we are not creating duplicate records. And then for identity mapping here, we want to use the email address, and we're going to use first listed here. And then this is also, we're going to just modify this to email address. And then here we will select all of the fields. So we'll say first name, last name, full name. We want all email addresses here. Let's say LinkedIn. We want their Twitter. Perhaps we want last interaction type and the date. And you'll see that there's a new badge here because, again, we don't have the table or the data set created, so it's going to be creating these tables. You can click into these and change these property names here. We don't want to filter any or override anything, so you can click preview here and that will show you the preview, but we're just going to continue in here. Frequency, we can do manual, but in this case, we'll just say, let's do it weekly on a Saturday, let's say at noon UTC. Continue. Here we will say Attio to BigQuery weekly sync. This should actually preview this as a table. So here's what it would look like. And then table and sync name we can put there. This will be, I'll do Attio people. Then we'll click save here. Table name is required. Attio people. Save and create. So this will go and create the people, Attio people table in BigQuery. So now if we actually go over to BigQuery, this is the project we're in. I'm just going to refresh here. And now we should see the Attio people data set and the Attio people table. And then if I click run test sync, this is actually going to start and this will create another table here, test table. So if I just refresh, Polytomic can be a bit slow, so just give this some time. If I refresh, all right, so you can see here there's this temporary table, so I can click on this and then go into preview, and this will show me these 5 records that it's tested with. And once this finishes, I can enable the sync, and then I can do a force full resync just to initially kick it off. All right, so we can see that the status here is now completed. So I'm going to enable the sync, and then I'm going to actually sync now, but I'm going to click force full resync. And if we go back to the BigQuery here, again, you'll start to see this data come in. And once this finishes, we'll see that all of the records will be showing up here. There should be over 1,000 records. So we'll just give this some time as well and let this run and complete. All right, so we can see that this has gotten the total number of records here and it's processing. But if we go back to BigQuery, we can see here in the preview that we have the 1,074 records, and this has all of the specific fields that we wanted to bring in. We can obviously add more fields to this. So we could go back to the configuration here, change any of these items, and then save this. And then on the next run, or if we force the sync, this information would get synced. We can also change the data sets and data names here as well if we want. And then just make sure that you save that there, and you'll get a history of all of the runs here as well. So the reason that you might want to set up a sync like this using Polytomic and pushing all of your data into your data warehouse is if you have data that's coming from finances, maybe it's Stripe invoices, and you're trying to correlate those customers with the actual users in your platform, and maybe you're doing some outbound or some marketing, you bring all this data into your data warehouse. And once that data is in your data warehouse, then you can start to use, for example, in this case with BigQuery, you can use Gemini and use that LLM to do some analytics and try to gather insights, as well as use, in-house like Looker Studio reporting, or using a third party like Tableau, for example, to do some reporting. So that way you can actually do that reporting across data sets, across different tools, because all this data is getting pushed into the data warehouse rather than just creating a report, let's say in Attio, or just creating a report in Looker Studio on some data that you have within Google. Maybe that's Google Sheets or something like that. But doing this process allows you to do much more robust SQL queries, as well as reporting on top of data from multiple sources.